Hi and welcome back to the channel and to part 2 of the episodes where I'm fitting out the inside of my camper van. It's a 1970 split screen Brazilian bus, and in the first episode I fitted the rock and roller seat. I made this unit here and I've got all that fitted in, put the carpets in. Now we're going to move on to the next unit where I'm going to build here around the spare wheel tunnel, and I'm going to make the table, put the pedestal table in, and integrate the unit's top door with the tabletop, and maybe a few other things. Let's see how we get on. More new car parts, but this one's a little bit different to the sort of stuff I normally get, and something that's pretty crucial to the build. Well, there we go. It's this pedestal leg for the table that I'm going to put in. So it comes with 3 parts. It's an aluminium base that sort of sinks into the floor of the bus. Then that goes on like that, and this piece fixes to the bottom of the tabletop and sits on there like that. So I'll offer that up, see what it looks like in the bus. Right, so I think it's probably going to go about there. I'll have to make a hole in the floor and put the base in, but the height seems to be pretty good, which is good news. Thing is, the only bit I need right now is the top, and I'll explain why. So my plan is to build a unit here with enough access so that I can open the door and still get in the bus just with one door open, so there's plenty of room there. And I want to push it back, you know, as far as I can. This might be a little bit wider than I finally intend to have it, but the trick is that it'll have a curved edge on there, but the front area, all here, I want to make that detach, not as a normal door, take the whole thing away, and it'll become the tabletop. So this piece needs to be mounted on the back, and what I was keen, that's why I wanted to get this now rather than later, is to make sure I had enough space behind that it would still fit in that well with this wheel well there. I'd still have enough space, and I've got plenty. So I think I might actually bring the unit back a little bit, so cut that down slightly, and I'll still have enough clearance when it's stowed away at the back. That will still not foul on here. Okay, done a bit of rough, well, not rough, hopefully accurate measuring. I've leveled this up. I've decided to take a chunk off the back, and I've made myself a little drawing. Key thing here is that I've got to leave a little recess underneath so this floats, and I can get the lighting, hidden lighting up underneath here, as is the we've got here. So there's a recess under there. I must remember not to fix this to the bottom of the plywood. It's got to be recessed a little bit. Okay, so that's your job to remind me to do that, okay? Because that's the one thing I'm worried about. Measurements are done. Let's get inside and start to fabricate it. Okay, back in the garage, and I'm starting to lay things out. I did a drawing, as I said I would. I'll try and explain. So this is the unit. I've taken the measurements I need. I've got my rebate there, or recess there, for the lighting for later. And what I'm going to do is this is kind of a profile of the ply. So this part will become the tabletop, all of that. And what I'd like on the outside of the unit for it be the same style of ply, which is that. It's got a nice. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it actually, but if I leave it in polished natural finish or something like that, then I want that on the outside. So there's I think that 9mm bendy ply around the outside, and then on the inside I've got 2 other layers of bendy ply, both at about 6mm. Both of those are 6mm, and I've bought here a small sheet of hardwood normal ply, so it's nice and solid. So the idea here is that I'm going to bond all this together with epoxy resin, and in that way, that's kind of how I'm going to make bendy ply not bendy anymore, is by putting resin layers between these and forming that around some sort of mold. In fact, this is what I've done here, so I'll show you. So I've just started to lay out now what the unit's going to look like. This will be the top of the unit, and I'm going to form, after I've done a lot more kind of structural work in here, I'm going to form the ply around these edges here, and then effectively laminate the outer side around there. So a bit more work to do to make this more structurally strong, and then it's a question of laminating the various layers to get that, and then epoxy gluing the whole lot together and letting it set. So I'm getting on to putting the beading on now to give me more surface area for the bendy ply to glue to, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do on this corner. So the unit obviously is going to come up here, and I don't really want a hard edge because the seating goes in there. So what I've found up in the shed is an old piece of mahogany. I love it. I love recycling, and that's fantastic. So I think what I'm going to do is just cut a chunk of this off and just bevel one edge, and then that can sit in there. If I rebate in, I'll be able to stick the ply along the edge there and then rebate into a nice piece of mahogany on the end. So the frame's all squared up, and I've cut a couple of sheets of ply. One is the 12mm, which will sit on the top. That'll be the first layer, and then I've got a bit of the bendy ply there that will go on here. It's a really tough bend, this one. It's quite tight. So what I'm going to do is I'll put epoxy on this layer first, and I think I will be pulling and screwing it on, so I get the frame in place, and then I'll do the other 2 layers once that's gone off. Well, that's the second layer of ply that's gone on. You saw I did basically a base on both surfaces first, let that soak in a bit, and then put a third layer on the in fact on the bendy ply with some sawdust in there as well, so that was nice and thick. And I've got a good bit of seepage coming out the side, so I'm fairly confident that I've got a good bond between the 2 sheets. With both these layers, I've been able to use screws. I think it's going to be a complete nightmare to put the final sheet on over the whole thing, which I'll have to do without any screws in, because that's like the finish surface. So that's going to all be cramped up, which is probably going to be quite a difficult thing. I think I'll make some sort of former for this section, to this bend, because it's really, as I say, it's really tight. It's hard to pull it round. So that's the job, is to kind of make some sort of former for this to hold that in place, and get ready to cramp the whole thing. I'll leave this probably overnight, because I'm under no time constraint on this. That'll dry and go, it's in the right shape, it'll stay in the right shape, and give me a nice base tomorrow to work on the form, and on, you know, sort of getting that final layer on. Well, I think I've worked it out. There's all my cramps and clamps on, everything I've got. I think that will work. The next bit is going to get really messy. So it's the next morning, couldn't resist giving a test fit. So I've taken all the cramps off. It's looking, I'm really pleased with that. It's like super solid. Remember that's 18 mil now thick, so that is a pretty solid corner, which is great. And with the resin in there, yeah, it's just a really good job. So that's nicely fitted, and I've got bags of room behind. So I was thinking, I want to just trim the top down here, so I can fit that over this lip and give me some fixings at the top. So I'll do that, I think, which will move it back maybe, I don't know, an inch or something. But there's loads of room to get in, so I've got plenty of access there. There's no access issues at all. So yeah, so a bit more trimming, got to clean it up a little bit, and see if we can get that ready to fit in. But before I fit it in, obviously I've got to then address the front here, and after you've done all this work, I'm going to cut a big hole in the front, because that's going to be the tabletop. Okay, I've been putting this off, but got to cut a hole in something I've finished. Not really want to do it, but there you go. So I've made myself a template, which has taken me quite a while to do, out of a bit of ply, and I can level that up and use that to finish the job off, or the outside. So bottom line, okay, so basically I've marked now where I'm going to cut. I'm going to use a jigsaw, I've decided, to cut very close, but not on that line, just on the inside of it. That'll get the centerpiece out, because obviously I want to keep, both parts are important, the inside and the outside, because the inside's going to be the tabletop, the outside's obviously the cabinet. So I'm going to cut just inside there. I've figured I've got about 8 mil to play. 6 to 8 mil to play with here. So if I cut with a jigsaw very close to the line, should be okay. Then I'm going to take the center out. I'm going to put the template on, and then I'm going to use this, which is a templating router bit that's got a bearing at the top. Put that in around here, using this edge as the guide, and then clean up the unit. So that does that part, and that should be the unit then hopefully finished with a nice edge on it. And then I'm going to work out how I'm going to clean up the tabletop, get the distance I need. I bought myself some, there we go, some edging strip. Just got that off eBay or something, I think. So there you can see that goes in on the edge, and you see the profile there. But that thickness kind of there is about 3 or 4 mil. So I may edge the outside of the unit, may not do, depends on the finish. But let's get this out first and then just work out what I'm going to do after that's out and the outside's cleaned up. Well, it's out. Good news is that it's bonded really well. Really pleased with that. So that's the 6 mil bendy ply, and then the normal ply, 12 mil ply. They're together with epoxy. Yeah. So that's really good. Excellent. There's the what will be the tabletop, and the same. It's it's epoxied together really well. Excellent. Really pleased with that. And that's routed a really neat edge. So that's done. Happy with that. Well, I think I've got a pretty acceptable fit now all around. That's even, pretty even gaps, and nice and smooth and finished. So I'm kind of happy with that. Next job, because this is going to be the tabletop, is to put the trim around, which will hopefully, I'll have enough gap there still to fit this back in. That's the plan. So I showed you before, I think this is the trim. So I've got to cut in a groove into the edge of the tabletop, and I'm going to use that. So I've got an arbor, and I've broken out my routing table, which my dad bought me years ago and I hardly used. So yeah, just a little hobby table. The idea is to put the arbor in there and then run the piece through, and hopefully, nice and centrally, we'll get a nice groove all the way around the edge of the table, ready to accept the edging strip. Well, that was loud and exciting, but it did the job. So there you go. Nice. I'm glad I did a few test runs on some old scrap first, because I did have a little bit of a trouble to get this central and to get the bit to just run smoothly, but that's turned out okay. Now I need to stain the other side, or put some sort of finish on the edge there before I put the edging strip on, and I'm experimenting a bit now. These are some old products that I had, and I like the way the grain comes out in these. It's quite good, but you could this is an oil-based Ronseal, I think it is, but so you can't buy that anymore. It's all water-based, and if I compare the new product versus the old product, you know, I'm not sure that you're not getting such a good wood stain effect. So I don't know whether I'll use that or not. I've just been out again to my local store, and I've got some Danish oil, so that's another option. So we'll see. But while I think about that, and while I let that dry and do a few coats, next job is to start mounting up the table and getting the pedestal into the van. This morning to do a job that I wanted to do for ages. I'm going to put this edging strip on the top in the groove, and hopefully that goes in okay, and then I'm going to fit the whole lot back into the unit, and that's where we find out whether I've got my dimensions right and it just snugly sits in there. Let's see how we get on. Okay. If I've got it right, should just push in. Oh, and it does. Excellent. There we go, snug fit, but it is in there. If I touch it, I think it'll fall in. So that's pretty much about as tight as I want it to fit, I think, or as loose as I want it. Now I've got to, carefully, I've got to fit some furniture on with some clips and things to retain it in when it's in the bus, standing upright, and then that'll be job done there. Pedestal leg stowed away. I thought I'd have to make a fixing for that, but here we go. Will it fit is the question. Yes and yes. There we go, that works lovely. Well, there we go, job done. Very pleased with that. Edging's gone on really well, and the units kind of come up quite nice as well. 3 coats of satin varnish on there, and the fittings are on. So I've recessed in under here, and I put catch on, and that fits really nicely. So I think that's enough for this video. I've got a lot more still to do. I've got this to finish. I've got to work out what I'm going to do on the top here, and I've got obviously the cushions to go in. They're off with someone at the moment being fabricated, and I've got little units going here with just a little bit of a surprise, something a little bit different for that. So you'll have to join me for the next episode to see all that stuff. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'll see you again. Cheers, bye bye.